Hello, this is Marianne Esau for EDL 850 Module 16 Case Study. So in this module, we were asked to identify a problem and come up with a solution as to how we would react if we were the principal at this fictitious school. So what we know about the problem, we know that Roosevelt High School, where the issue has taken place, is an affluent area in a large city. We know that Dr. Forbes has been principal for 9 years, and he was also principal of the year. He hired Miss Walker, who was a beginning teacher, but she was a little bit older than other beginning teachers, and she has a bachelor's, a master's, and 1 year of postgraduate work under her belt. We also know that Miss Walker teaches zoology, botany, and genetics, and is seen as strict by the parents and some of the students. We know that Dr. Forbes has heard many complaints about Miss Walker, and that he has worked with her on different teaching strategies, and that those strategies have not been successfully implemented on her part. We know that Miss Walker has opened an email that says, "Who wants Miss Walker to disappear?" and that she is scared after reading the email and has complained to Dr. Forbes. What we need to know is, are her degrees in education or in science? Some states let people teach with specific degrees, and science can be one of them. And since it's a more specialized area than some sciences, she might have a degree in science versus education. And that makes a huge difference on her teaching strategies and whether or not she can implement them effectively. I also want to know, what strategies has she tried? Just because she might, just not quite be there in terms of what would work for her students. I also want to know who the email is actually from, and that's something that we don't know. And I also want to know, does Miss Walker know her students very well? Does she like her students? Because she kind of doesn't really seem to connect with them very well, and that is a huge issue when it comes to teaching. And then I also kind of thought, it was interesting. I wanted to know if other teachers had heard complaints from parents too. Or was this specific to just Miss Walker, or has any other teacher had issues in the past? Miss Walker, the problem here to me is twofold. Miss Walker is struggling to connect with her students, and that is, to me, the underlying issue. And then the other problem is obviously that she received a threatening email. She should never feel unsafe, but she also needs to learn how to teach better. My proposed plan of action. First off, I would talk to her students, every student in her room, each hour to get to the bottom of the situation, just to kind of see who did send the email. Again, was it a parent? Was it a student? Was it another staff member? We don't know. I would also take disciplinary actions if necessary, and based on what the district mandates, in terms of cyberbullying. And I would also have a school-wide team building / anti-bullying event, because this doesn't, it could be an isolated event, but this also hopefully would prevent people from doing something similar in the future. Okay, so to talk with the students, I would go to each of her classes and talk with the class separately. I would talk to all the students and not just talk to the one that she suspected. And I would also talk to parents. If I could not find out which student sent the email, I would just kind of maybe talk to some of the parents in those classes just to kind of see if they knew anything as well. To take disciplinary action, I would implement the district's policy on cyberbullying, and I would look at the policies and talk to the parents and, discipline based on what I found out. And I would also, again, have a school-wide anti-bullying team building activity or event or a speaker or something like that. I would have all staff and students attend the seminar, because, we need to be proactive and prevent those issues in the future. And many students might feel this way about Miss Walker or other teachers, so it's good to implement those, before something else happens. To resolve the issue, there would be several things I would do. The students need to have someone that they feel comfortable with and can connect with, and someone that understands them. And I don't think Miss Walker does at this point, so she might need one-on-one training. This also, again, stems from my question of whether or not she has degrees in education or whether or not her degrees are in science. Because, again, that makes a big difference as to, your views on pedagogy and how well you are going to implement your strategies in your classroom. It's also best for students not to make threats, and, stereotypically speaking, students maybe in an affluent neighborhood could be a little more entitled in some ways, and maybe think they can get away with certain things, and just we need to let them know that this is not okay in the long run, and this is not something that is okay in adult life, and something we need to squash right away. So I would talk to Miss Walker and find out her feelings. I may think she overreacted a little bit, just because it wasn't a death threat. It was just kind of like, who wants her to disappear? And so I would just make sure she felt comfortable coming back. And again, I would train her one-on-one in classroom instruction if she needed that help. And I would help her make goals to implement in her classroom. And I would also take action against the people cyberbullying. It's not okay to bully, and it's not okay to bully a student or a staff, and, she needs to feel safe. Okay, I would, again, talk to her, and after we found out who did the issue, who sent the email, and took action, how does she feel about that? Does she feel comfortable coming back to school? Is this something she can move past? That kind of thing. I also want to make sure that she feels comfortable not only with the science aspect, but again with the pedagogy, because as we know, that is the most important part. Connecting with your students and being able to give the information is more important than just having the knowledge. And I, again, would make her, I would sit down with her and have her make some goals to help her in the classroom. Just because she might not even know where to begin. It's hard being a first-year teacher, and I know she's in her second year now, but, she just might not know even where to start in terms of strategies. And again, I would take action against the cyberbully, because, that's not okay. And we don't know the intention behind it. Again, they could just want her to move away or, leave the school. It doesn't say they want to kill her. It just says they want her to disappear. So during this time, I felt frustrated for Miss Walker. She did feel threatened, and the students, she doesn't think the students like her, which again is important. When you think about connecting with students and having them feel safe, it's important that they feel connected to you and that they think that you like them and they like you. So I did feel frustrated for her. She shouldn't feel unsafe. I also felt bad for the students, because they do have a teacher that maybe doesn't quite understand them and maybe needs some more strategies in her classroom. And I know this sounds mean, but I do kind of feel like Miss Walker overreacted a bit. Again, she may have misconstrued the threat as violent when it wasn't. And, I've been verbally threatened by students, and I think a lot of teachers have, and, this could be a mistake. And as Dr. Forbes said, this could be just like an empty threat. So some issues that are unresolved. Miss Walker is still struggling to connect with her students. So that is something that we need to work on as a team. And the other issue is that we don't know who made the threat. So that's an issue that is unresolved in itself, because it could be, again, it could be a student, it could be a staff, and it could be a parent. Okay, so standard 5 is right here. I won't read that for you. Component 1 is, how did I demonstrate a sense of integrity and ethical behavior? So I do think it's important to take the threat seriously and not let a student get away with that, because, again, it's not okay to bully. I want to make sure Miss Walker felt safe coming back, and so that, is how I would act ethically. And again, I would hold a bullying seminar, and so that would make sure, hopefully, that it doesn't happen again. And again, I acted ethically by taking appropriate disciplinary actions. And then component 2 is how, as a building leader, did I treat people fairly and equitably. The first thing is I questioned all the students, or I would question all the students, and not just the one Miss Walker suspected. That in itself is equity. I want to make sure that all students have the opportunity to receive some anti-bullying training, and all students, have the opportunity to not be accused of something they did not do. I also treated her fairly, hopefully, because I did take the complaint seriously, and I wouldn't tell her that I think she overreacted, but I mean, that's something that we need to take seriously. And I think it's important to not dismiss it as a harmless prank if she's that upset about it. I also would have all school members attend the anti-bullying seminar, not just those in her classes, just because, again, it's important to be fair and to make sure everyone knows that this is not okay. And the last component is how did I demonstrate a personal and professional code of ethics? I want to make sure that I made sure that Miss Walker had more training once I heard complaints about her. You don't necessarily know someone is ineffective or maybe less effective if you don't hear any complaints or if you don't hear any issues from anybody. I also want to make sure that she gets more intensive training in the future. Again, she might not know strategies. She might not feel comfortable implementing strategies, and she might, need some help in that area. And the last thing I would do is I would, again, make her, help her set goals for her personal growth in her classroom. Again, she might not know even where to start, and she might think, oh, no one likes me, and this is hopeless, and I just want her to know that, together we can be better and be more effective for our students. And I think that is all. Thanks for watching.